We're always told that having more stuff is the ultimate sign of success. But what if that's completely backward? Today, we're going to dive into this fascinating idea of minimalist money and how having less can, paradoxically, make you way wealthier.
All right, to kick things off, let's look at a puzzle that totally flips the script on what we think about income versus actual wealth.
So, picture this. 2 apartments, same neighborhood. In one, you've got someone pulling in 95 grand a year. They've got the huge TV, a $4,000 sofa, closets that are just bursting at the seams. But they're just 2 missed paychecks away from a real crisis. Then, right next door, you've got someone earning just $52,000. Their place is simple, functional, maybe with some used kitchen gear, but they've got 18 months of living expenses saved up.
So this is the big question, right? How on earth can the person making almost half as much have 10 times the financial security? Well, the answer isn't just about what they earn. It's about a hidden cost that most of us never, ever think about.
And that brings us to this powerful idea, this hidden drain on our money called the second cost.
The core idea here is really simple but profound. Everything you own actually costs you money twice. The first cost, that's the obvious one. It's the price tag. But the second cost is this invisible, slow bleed. It's the ongoing price you pay for storage, for maintenance, for the mental space it takes up, and, this is the big one, for the lost opportunity of what that money could have been doing instead.
Let's break that down real quick. First, you've got storage. All that stuff has to live somewhere, and you're paying rent on that space. Then there's maintenance. Think about a boat. It costs you about 10% of its value every single year just to keep it running. Next up is mental energy. Seriously, studies show that visual clutter literally drains your focus and adds to your stress. And finally, the killer, opportunity cost. Every dollar that's tied up in a thing you own is a dollar that isn't out there working for you, growing. Let me show you what I mean.
So, let's say you decide to drop $15,000 on a sweet home gym setup. That feels like a one-and-done purchase, right? That's the first cost. But this is where the second cost comes in and just blows your mind. That same $15,000, if you had just invested it instead, over 15 years, it could have grown to more than $50,000. So you see, you didn't just buy a gym, you traded it for future financial freedom. It's a perfect example of how our stuff secretly costs us an absolute fortune.
Okay, so how do we actually fight back against these hidden costs? Well, it all starts with just being smarter about the things we decide to bring into our lives in the first place. Let's look at a few rules for smart acquiring.
One of the most powerful tools you can use is the cost per use rule. Check out this jacket comparison. You buy a cheap $200 jacket, you wear it twice, and it falls apart. That's $100 per wear. But a high-quality $400 jacket that you wear 200 times, that only costs you $2 per wear. So which one is really the cheaper jacket? It's a no-brainer when you look at it this way, and it's an amazing way to stop those impulse buys.
And here's another game changer. Test drive your enthusiasm. Before you go all in on a new hobby, kayaking, woodworking, whatever, and buy all the gear, just rent or borrow the equipment first. This is how you figure out if the passion is real, or if it's just a passing thought. It'll save you from having a garage full of dusty, abandoned dreams.
Okay, so that's how we can be smarter about buying new things. But what about all the stuff we already have cluttering up our lives? Well, that brings us to a few rules for deliberate owning.
All right, here's a brutally honest question you need to ask about everything you own. If this thing disappeared today, would I actually go out and spend my hard-earned money to replace it? Think about it. For so much of our stuff, that bread maker you used once, the fondue set, the honest answer is a hard no. They're in our lives because of inertia, not because we truly want or need them.
Now, this next one might sound a little obsessive, but the psychological impact is huge. Actually count your possessions. I'm serious. Because when you know for a fact that you own 47 shirts, the impulse to buy number 48 just feels different. It shifts your buying habits from being mindless to being a really conscious, deliberate choice. And that awareness is everything.
Look, these rules and tactics are great. They really are. But the real transformation, the one that sticks, happens when we completely shift our mindset about what wealth and success even mean. Traditionally, we think of wealth as stuff we can show off, right? The big house, the fancy car. But the minimalist redefines wealth as optionality. It's the freedom to walk away from a toxic job, the freedom to take 6 months off to travel.
It's having the power to make choices based on your values, not what your bills are demanding. Because true wealth isn't what you have, it's the choices you have.
Now, building this kind of wealth, this freedom, requires one absolutely crucial step. You have to define what enough looks like for you. If you don't create a finish line for your lifestyle, I promise you, your spending will always rise to meet your income. It's called lifestyle creep. But if you define enough before you get that next raise, you guarantee that future income builds your freedom, not just a bigger, more gilded cage.
And what happens when you do this is you kick off this amazing, powerful, positive feedback loop. You start spending less, which means you can save more. As you save more, you start to feel way more financially secure. And here's the magic part. When you feel secure, that deep-seated psychological need to buy stuff for status or comfort, it just starts to fade away. This is the virtuous cycle that builds real, lasting wealth.
Okay, the theory is great, but how do we actually put this into practice? What can you do, like, right now? Here's a super simple action plan to get you started on this path.
So here's a little challenge. This week, just find 10 items in your house that fail that replacement test we talked about and get them out. Donate them, sell them, whatever. This month, try putting a 24-hour waiting period on all non-essential purchases. You will be shocked at how many of those must-have urges just vanish into thin air. And this year, take the time to actually sit down and write out what enough looks like for you. For your home, your car, your closet.
When you get right down to it, all of these ideas, all these rules, they boil down to one fundamental choice that can totally reframe how you see money and your life. It's a simple question, but it's a powerful one. Do you want to own your possessions, or do you want them to own you?